What's going on, guys? I want to make an informational video on the bench press, and of course the title of it is how much you bench, because we've all been in that situation where you're in the gym and some random guy comes up to you and asks you how much you bench. And the reason for that, one of the reasons, is because a lot of people think that the bench press is sort of a good um, indicator of your overall body strength, right? And of course everybody likes to bench, everyone wants to have a high bench press, um, but a lot of people are benching wrong. And I want to go over a video and talk about some technique and setup that could help you bench more and bench stronger if you do that on a regular basis. So, just a little bit on my background. My main focus was powerlifting. So, I powerlifted with a professional team for a couple years. We focused on the bench, squat, and deadlift. I did a number of competitions, but I've always loved powerlifting, and that's my main emphasis today when it comes to lifting. Um, the reason I thought this video was important is because probably I want to say 90% or more of lifters that you see in the gym are benching incorrectly. And the next time you go into a gym where you watch someone bench, I want you to notice how they are set up. Typically, what you're going to see is you're going to see someone laying flat on their back. Their elbows are way out from their side, and they're dropping the bar typically to the nipple line, right? So they're benching this way. And I just want you to think about that for a minute, how awkward that is. Think about if you were playing football, or think about if you were involved in a schoolyard fight and you go to push somebody, right? Nobody pushes like this. That's just completely awkward, doesn't feel right, and you don't feel strong. When you push this way because your body naturally wants to push this way, and you realize that this is where you are the strongest. So why is it that when we are benching, we see so many guys in the gym laying flat on their back, benching this way? Think about all the strain and the overload that is on your shoulder when you're benching like this, right? And this is one of the reasons why guys who bench heavy end up with shoulder problems later on in life, is because their technique is so bad. So when I say that 90% of lifters are probably benching wrong, I don't say that to speak down on anyone. I didn't learn how to bench correctly until I was in my 30s. It wasn't until that I joined a team and I actually had a coach to show me proper technique that I learned to bench properly. And so I want to try to help pass some of those tips and techniques along to you. Okay, so even though everyone asked the question how much you bench, I actually think the squat and the deadlift are much better indicators of overall body strength. Okay, your legs are your largest muscle group in your body, and your back is your largest upper body muscle group. So when you think about the deadlift, you're working your entire posterior chain, and squats obviously are your glutes and your legs. Those are much larger muscle groups, much better indicators of your overall body strength. And one of the best things you can do to increase your bench is also to work your deadlift and your squat, because your body is just going to have a natural tendency to grow in proportion with itself, right? You don't want to be one of those guys who has a huge upper body and skinny chicken legs, right? So work all of these three main lifts into your routine, and you're going to see better performance overall. When you think of the bench, you need to think of the bench as a full body exercise, just like the squat and the deadlift. A lot of people, when they think again of the bench, all they think about is they're just laying flat on the bench and pressing the weight up. Okay, there's a lot more technique. There's a lot more that goes into a proper bench press. So you need to think of the bench press as a full body exercise, just like the squat and the deadlift. And we're going to go over some of those techniques here in a minute. One of the big things is to focus on your setup. So before you're even thinking about benching the weight, focus on your setup. Make sure your setup is correct, and then you're going to bench the weight after that. So we're going to go over a video of one of my benches here, and I just want to show you my setup. This is how I was taught to set up and bench. And let me say this You do not have to bench exactly like I bench. Everyone's body is a little bit different. So you do not, my setup is a little over exaggerated. You do not have to set up the same way that I set up. However, I can guarantee that if you incorporate some of these principles or all of these principles into your bench, that your bench press will improve. Okay. So I'm gonna play this video and then I'm gonna stop it and kind of talk about what I'm doing in the video and how I set up. Okay, the first thing right here, what I'm doing is on the bench, I want to pull my shoulders back, and I am digging my rear delts and my traps into the bench. So I'm pulling right, I want to open up my chest this way. I don't want to bench this way with my shoulders forward. I don't want to bench with my elbows way out like this, completely uncomfortable. I want to pull all of this back, and I'm digging my traps and my rear delts into the bench here. Okay, as I'm doing this, you guys will see that I'm already forming an arch in my back. Okay, and I want to, as I drop my feet, I want to maintain this arch as much as I can on the bench. Whoops. Now I place my hands with my, if you're familiar with a powerlifting bar, there's marks where in competition you have to have your index finger on in order for the lift to be counted as a legal lift. Okay, so I put my index finger as far out as I can. I believe it's 32 inches. I have very long arms, and so in order to help my bench, I take a very wide grip. Some of you aren't necessarily going to take that wide of a grip, but that's why my hands are so far apart here. Okay, when I drop my feet, I'm dropping my feet straight down onto the floor, right where they were. And you guys will notice that as I drop my butt, I'm maintaining the arch in my back as I drop my butt. Okay? So as much as I can, I want to maintain this arch in my back. Now, some people ask, are you at risk of injuring your back that way? The answer is no. As long as you have your butt and your shoulders on this bench, you have full support here on the bench. The time when you're going to hurt your back is when you're doing, for example, standing overhead military press. Sometimes you guys will see people do standing overhead military press with no belt. They're doing heavy weight and they're tweaking their back and they have absolutely no back support. That's the time that you're going to hurt your back. You're not going to hurt your back this way on the bench. Okay. So again, I'm maintaining this arch in my back for my setup. Everything in your body is tight, just like your squat and deadlift. Everything is tense. Everything is tight. This is one of the reasons that powerlifting is extremely taxing on the body. You get extremely tired after powerlifting when you're doing 3 to 5 sets of maximal effort reps. Okay. Okay, the bar comes off. Okay, I want you to notice where I drop the bar now. You're going to notice that I drop the bar all the way down here at the bottom of my rib cage. Again, okay, I'm not dropping it at the nipple line. If I drop the bar at the nipple line, look at my elbows. My elbows are way out here. My shoulders are a completely awkward position. What I want to do is I want to emphasize pushing this way. I want to emphasize as much as possible a natural pushing position. This is where I'm strongest, here. I'm strong here. That's how I want to bench. I want to bench like this, okay? There's no strength here. I want to bench this way. So I'm dropping the bar all the way on the bottom of my rib cage here as I press. Okay. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay, other thing I want to emphasize is leg drive. Okay, a lot of people on bench don't incorporate leg drive, but I want you to notice again, because my legs are tight, everything is tight here, that I am using leg drive immediately before the weight is going up. So I am pushing with my legs and I'm transferring power from my legs through my body and into the press. So again, this is why you have to think of the bench press as a full body exercise. I'm using leg drive even on the bench. So you'll see as I do a few reps here, you will see my legs drive and then I'm pressing the weight. Legs drive, press the weight. Press the weight. Okay, so again, you guys can see there. Again, maintaining arch in the back. I want my elbows in. I want to drop the bar low, and I want to incorporate leg drive. Those are just a few just real quick tips and techniques that you can start to incorporate in your bench, and you guys are going to see a lot of improvement. A couple closing thoughts, and I'll wrap this up. The first one is don't get frustrated. A lot of times I will help guys bench at the gym, and I'll help them to incorporate some of these principles, and they immediately get frustrated because they're not used to benching this way. They're used to using bad technique, and because they're not used to benching properly, they realize that they have to drop the weight. They have to lower their weight until they focus on their setup and their technique. And because they have to drop the weight, they get frustrated and they say, oh, well, this isn't working, and then they end up going to their old ways. Don't get frustrated. Stick with it. Stick with the technique. Focus on your setup, and then worry about weight after that. Consider benching twice a week. You're able to bench twice a week because when you bench, you're using smaller muscle groups, which recover faster. So when you bench, you're focusing on your pecs, your front deltoids, and your triceps. Okay. That's unlike the squats and deadlifts where you're using major muscle groups, and those major muscle groups take a little bit longer to recover. So on a typical workout week, when I was training with the powerlifting team, this is what our workout week would look like. We would squat on Monday, bench on Tuesday, rest on Wednesday, deadlift on Thursday, and then Friday would be a secondary bench and supplemental workout day. And our workouts would sometimes be 2 to 3 hours, but doing that 4 days a week is plenty. So again, you don't have to be a power lifter. You don't have to follow this workout schedule. I know a lot of you guys like to use resistance bands and everything else, but if you do bench and you are incorporating bench into your workout routine, then start to use these principles, focus on your setup, and I can pretty much guarantee that you guys will have good success, and you'll see increases in your strength. So if you have questions, comments, let me know what you guys think, and I hope this little tutorial was helpful. Thanks.